We're so excited to have you here for the grand opening and ribbon cutting of our new esports lounge.
I'm very excited because they give a way of us young people to connect, and it brings out a good environment and everything. And I learned yesterday that people can have similar hobbies and that can start a friendship or maybe a possible career for them in their future lives.
To be able to have a space that's across the street from JAG, right next to Danley, in the center of our community, right? With 30 different systems, that if you walk in there, you know, I was asking some of the youth that came in the space earlier how it felt to them, right? Like, how did it make them feel? They said, oh, it's unbelievable, right? For them to be able to have smiles, sit down, and be able to feel comfortable in a space in a YMCA, that's what we're doing it for. And so I'm excited for what this can be. I'm excited to be able to open up the avenue for esports teams through the high schools to be able to come and have this as their home base, right? Like, to be able to say, hey, we got the best esports space in the entire country, right? Like, you can't compete with us. And so that's what I want.
Good evening and welcome to the Montgomery County Board of Education meeting. Today is June 10th, 2025. The time is now 5 o'clock. This meeting is now called to order. At this time, we will have Pastor Henry C. Davis Jr. From Big Roxana Baptist Church to come and provide invocation and prayer for us.
May we pray. Father God, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for things being as well as they are. But now we live in some perilous times. Lord, critical issues on every front. Each day is filled with so much uncertainty. But now for just a moment, Lord, we come into your presence just asking that you will find favor in these board members. Lord, give them wisdom and knowledge. Strengthen them where they're weak. Build them up where they may be torn down. Lord, give them a desire in the heart to seek the answers that are needed to better serve our children in this community. Father God, let them come now, not for personal grandizement or for personal edification, but Lord, let them come forward now to make decisions that will be better for our community. Bless their efforts now. And then, Lord, we ask that where we can't make a difference, you step in and take total control. For as humanity, our wisdom is infinite, but we think that you can solve all issues according to your word. You promised us whatever desires we have, all we had to do is ask. Lord, as the capital city, we should have the best school system that the state would want to see for others to model after. And now, during this time of rest for our children, during a summer break, Lord, let it be used now so that when school starts in September, that a difference will have been made. New standards, new leadership, setting standards for our teachers, our principals, that, Lord God, we can rise to a higher height. That, Lord God, if we seek your face now, elevation is sure to come. Have your way even in this meeting. Bless it, ordain it, and then, Lord, give it increase. These things we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor. At this time, we'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag looking around, we have a quorum established. All members of the Montgomery County Board of Education are present. At this time, I will take a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda as is.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second it.
There's been motion and second. All those in favor do so by showing of hands. It is unanimous. At this time, we will go to President's remarks. If you will give me just a second. This past May, we have had the absolute joy of witnessing hundreds of Montgomery County Public School students take the proud walk across the stage, the graduation stage. Each step a testament to their hard work, resilience, and determination. The energy, the excitement, and the hope in their eyes reminds us of why we do this work. These students are our future. They are innovators and change makers, and we stand beside them with deep confidence that they are ready to walk into their purpose and chase their dreams without hesitation. But even as we celebrate, we also pause in solemn reflection. Our hearts are heavy as we mourn the tragic passing of one student who did graduate, but sadly lost his life after graduation, leaving this world far too soon. Another student is also fighting for his life, so we pray fervently for his healing and recovery. In this moment, just for a short 30 seconds, if we will bow our heads in silence. Thank you. I ask that we continue to hold space for them and their families and all those whose hearts are burdened by this loss. We also extend our deepest condolences to families who have lost loved ones who dedicated their lives to serving MPS, our educators, support staff, and mentors who shape generations with wisdom, compassion, and unwavering commitment to our students. Their legacies remain etched in the halls of our schools, in the hearts of all who knew them. Yet even in sorrow, we find strength in community. We find purpose in the paths laid before us, and we find hope in the boundless potential of our students. May we continue to uplift one another, stand together, and move forward with faith, knowing that our shared dedication to education, excellence, and unity will never waver. And at this time, if the presentation is available, if it's not, it's okay, I'll read it, but this is to also share with you all about our June 2nd and 3rd board retreat, so I'll just touch on that lightly. The purpose and vision of this leadership retreat, it marked a turning point. We emerged more united, more focused, and more committed to transformational leadership. It was grounded in collaboration, transparency, and a shared vision of excellence for all students in the Montgomery Public Schools. In day one, we strengthened our governance. We participated in a DISC assessment to better understand our team dynamics and communication styles, laying a stronger foundation for teamwork. We reviewed and clarified governance roles and responsibilities, aligning ourselves with the national best practices. We evaluated our board committee structures to ensure each committee is focused on advancing student achievement and district priorities. We strengthened our communication protocols to ensure our work with the superintendent, staff, and community is clear, consistent, and responsive. On day two, we had strategic alignment that we looked at. Superintendent Dr. Byrd and his team presented his first 100-day plan, which focused on listening, learning, and leading with purpose. We held a candid discussion on our expectations for the first year, leading to strong alignment and clarity of purpose. We began shaping a fair, transparent evaluation process that promotes accountability and support for the superintendent's success. Our commitment moving forward. We will govern with a clear focus and on equity, accountability, and academic excellence. The public can expect continued transparency, collaboration, and communication. This retreat is just the beginning. We are building a stronger system that Montgomery's families can believe in. And that is my president remarks. At this time, we'll share the superintendent remarks.
Good evening, board members, and to everyone that's joining us on today. I want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to each of you for your time, your energy, and your engagement during our recent board retreat. It was a powerful opportunity for us to step away from the day-to-day demands and focus intentionally on our shared vision, our values, and the future of Montgomery Public Schools. The retreat was not only very productive, but it was very meaningful. I appreciated the honest dialogue, the thoughtful questions, and the collective commitment each of you brought to the table. Your insights and perspectives affirm just how dedicated this board is to doing what's right for students, families, and our employees, and our community. We cover critical areas from instructional improvement and student outcomes to communication strategies and governance priorities. This feedback and the ideas shared will serve as a solid foundation as we continue to refine our strategic plan and also address the priorities of the 100-day plan and beyond. More importantly, the retreat reaffirmed our alignment around the belief that MPS can and will be a high-performing district, one that will consistently put students first and models excellence at every level. Again, thank you for your time, for your leadership, and your trust. I look forward to continuing this journey together and building on the momentum that has already been established from our retreat. Again, board members, I truly want to thank you all so much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to this forward journey. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is Ms. Jay Jones. She will bring board recognitions.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Byrd. This year, Booker T. Washington Magnet High School recently suffered the loss of one of its most remarkable educators, and that is the late Mr. Richard G. Walker. Tonight, Dr. Ruffin and her team have a special presentation just for you. Dr. Ruffin?
Superintendent Dr. Byrd, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Madam President, Ms. Watkins Smith, Madam Vice President, Ms. Portis, board members, MPS, Montgomery, and to all that are viewing. I am Interim Principal Dr. Ruffin, and I have joining me tonight and on the behalf of BTW, the faculty and staff, we are here to pay tribute to one of our true pioneers in education and to recognize 3 scholar artists for their contribution to the BTW community. As you are aware, BTW took many hits this year. From settling in on the new campus for the first full year to change and then change again in leadership, and then the loss of the late Mr. Richard Walker, who served until he could serve no more as the media specialist, impacting scholar after scholar. Upon my learning of his passing, I immediately reached out to the visual arts specialist, Ms. Kayla DeVee. Unfortunately, she is not able to join us tonight. However, I did ask Ms. DeVee if she could possibly have a few scholars to collaboratively create a token of love to offer the family of Mr. Walker and one to keep as a keepsake in remembrance of him at the school. We are here tonight because there was no hesitation in the production, and these 3 scholars did not disappoint. Lauren Rice, if you all would step up. Olivia Holt. And Lucivan Rasponi Soto captured every detail of a photo where a student was caught asking Mr. Walker for assistance. This work is entitled Ask Mr. Walker. And I would like to thank Olivia, Lauren, and Lucivan for their excellence in all things. So this is just proof that no matter what our students go through, they have the grit, they have what it takes to succeed. Thank you.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Madam President and board members, do you mind joining the girls for a quick picture, if you don't mind? Dr. Bird. Board, board members, you can stand on the platform so we can see you. There you go. And girls, y'all can scoot back just a little bit. There you go. Right. Thank you all so much. Young ladies, thank you all so much for our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful portrait. Madam President.
Our next agenda item is scheduled public comments. Public comments requests must be made in advance and writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, preceding the meeting date. Requests must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific students or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or designee. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes. The board chair has the full authority to terminate the remarks by any person whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended. When asked to stop speaking by the board chair or is otherwise inappropriate, if a person fails to comply, when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, and/or off of MPS's property, depending on the level of disruption. At this time, we have Mr. Tolliver, grading inconsistencies and lack of transparency and communication with students and parents. Mr. Tolliver? Mrs. Tolliver? All right. Our next our next community public comments will come from Ms. Phaedra Carson Foster, portrait of an MPS graduate, smart enough to know better and do better because we've always been enough.
Good afternoon, MPS Board of Education members, and welcome, Dr. Byrd. My name is Phaedra Carson Foster, and I stand before you as a proud graduate of Montgomery Public Schools, class of 1987. 2 years ago, I served on the Portrait of a Graduate Committee, an effort meant to envision the ideal MPS student. But the voices most uplifted were those of business leaders and other community leaders, not the students with the dreams of who they wanted to become, nor the families who look into the students' eyes and want the world for them. I was invited to speak on behalf of families as a PTA leader, but it became clear that my role was to check a box, not to contribute. That process ended with a wall of words describing the graduate MPS should produce. But those words already describe many of us. The problem isn't that MPS hasn't produced excellent graduates. The problem is that we keep starting over and the system refuses to see us. Instead of honoring our stories or putting our pictures on that wall, too many in power lean on stereotypes instead of amplifying our excellence. They act as if we always need to start over and that nothing worthy came before. That's not just oversight, that's erasure. I know several of you sitting here today are also educated and accomplished products of this system. We are not rare, we're not spun gold. I hold 2 graduate degrees, including a Master's of Legal Studies from Washington University School of Law, one of the top-ranked law schools in the country. I serve as a full-time faculty member at Alabama State University, and I've done so since 2012. I've taught dual enrollment and remedial English. I've helped students close gaps they never should have had. Many were brilliant. They just needed someone to believe in them. I've taught your teachers. I've taught your parents. I'm teaching your future teachers and parents. I'm also a parent and a volunteer. In 2019, I helped launch a brand new PTA, and in a short time, today, I serve on the national governance team for the PTA. Our mission is to make every child's potential a reality, and my MPS experience fuels that commitment every day. But that wall of words over there is going to mean little if the community leaders don't truly see the students that they're serving. You can't say portrait of a graduate on one hand and use negative words to describe graduates of this system on the other, especially when we raise valid concerns. Students deserve to be valued. Parents deserve to be heard. I've stood before this board more than once asking that circumstances surrounding fraudulent school records be investigated. Referring to past scandals doesn't excuse these present issues, it's just a red flag. I'm smart enough to know that when academic records,
Ms. Carson Foster, your time is now up. Thank you. If you have anything additional, you can reach out to the superintendent. Thank you. All right. There are no citizen comments, so our next agenda item will be Mrs. Jana White with the Examiners of Public Account for the fiscal year 2024 audit report.
Good evening. In accordance with the provisions of Act Number 2006-196, commonly referred to as the School Fiscal Accountability Act, I am here on behalf of the Examiners of Public Accounts to present our audit report on the Montgomery Board of Education covering the audit period of October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. We conducted our audit in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards for the purpose of rendering an opinion on the financial statements and to determine whether the board complied with applicable laws and regulations. We also conducted an audit on the board's federal financial assistance program in accordance with those same standards and the requirements of the uniform guidance. We issued an unmodified opinion on the board's financial statements as of and for the fiscal year ended for September 30th, 2024. This means that the financial statements are presented fairly and in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. In addition, we issued an unmodified opinion on the board's major federal financial assistance program, which for this fiscal year was Education Stabilization Program. The local schools that were selected for comprehensive testing were Bellingrath Middle School, Blunt Elementary, Booker T. Washington Magnet High School, and Forest Avenue Academic Magnet School. All other schools were subjected for limited testing. We reported one finding in our audit. Finding number 2024-001. The board failed to bid and purchase the installation of a crisis alert system in accordance with Title 39 and the Code of Alabama and its procurement policy. Our entire audit report is available on the website at www.examiners.alabama.gov under the Audit Report tab. This concludes my presentation. I would like to thank you and your central office staff for assistance and cooperation during this process. We look forward to seeing you all next year.
Thank you, Ms. White. Our next agenda item will be Ms. Pamela Watkins' response to audit report, as well as FY 2025 increase of reserve account, as well as 2025 amended budget, as well as April 2025 financial statement. She'll be with us for a minute.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Byrd, Board President, Ms. Smith, and board members. Normally, when we have an audit finding or response, we don't normally give a response. However, with the audit finding and the remarks that were made with the finding, I'd like to provide the response that was submitted to the State Department. The Montgomery County Board of Education respectfully disagrees with the audit finding that the purchase of the crisis alert system should have been bid under Public Works law. The purchase was initially evaluated by the CSFO, the Chief of Operations, and our procurement supervisor. It was determined that the project be treated and processed as safety and security, which would have fell under the competitive bid law. This determination was made largely in part because 90% of the overall cost of the contract was actually licensing and monitoring. That was paid over a 5-year period. The contract is for 5 years. And we felt that it did not implicate the type of construction, renovation, or physical improvement projected under the definition of public works. In light of that, while the board respectfully disagreed with the finding, we do acknowledge the importance of clear procurement processes as well as being fully and legally compliant with the public works law and bid laws. The following corrective measures will be implemented to avoid future audit issues and ensure compliance. Public Works Bid Law Review will seek legal guidance for purchases exceeding $100,000 to confirm compliance and correct the issue of the bid law. Additionally, we will include bid law guidelines as part of our annual summer financial training with staff. The anticipated completion date that we provided to the examiners is September 30, 2025. Additionally, we have already sought state direction on additional training and guidance in our understanding of the Public Works Law. The additional training included or will include the district CSFO, our Chief of Operations, as well as other finance staff deemed necessary.
Next agenda item, also
Madam
coming.
President, may I say something?
Sure. All right.
I just wanted to say, Ms. Watkins, I appreciate you being up there and explaining and standing up. I sat in that meeting with you, and I know you acknowledged the fact that the board members that were there did not necessarily agree with the audit. And although I appreciate audits, know we need audits, I do publicly want to state that I think that it got down to a matter of splitting hairs. It was, is this attorney right or is this right? And I'm glad you're fixing it. But I still feel the same way I did when I sat in that meeting. I think the same way everybody else did feel. I think we were having a small power struggle. I'm not always right, but in this case, I think we have to agree to disagree with somebody who demanded to be right. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. Our next agenda item, also from Ms. Pamela Watkins, the fiscal year 2025 increase of reserve accounts.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight, I'm recommending an increase to the district reserves. As I've mentioned over the last few weeks in the board updates, this recommendation involves increasing our reserves by $12 million. However, before making that recommendation, I would like to provide the context and rationale for why this action is both necessary and prudent. It is essential that we continue to position ourselves to support our teachers and students in overall operations in the face of financial uncertainty. While our student population loss has slowed, we still experienced a decline this year that resulted in the loss of state funding of approximately $1.2 million due to the reduction in those earned units. Additionally, things to keep in mind as we move into the budget season: the Education Trust Fund, our primary source of state revenue, is funded in large by state sales tax and income tax. Recent presentations and communication from the State Department have indicated that these revenue streams are beginning to level off, meaning that we need to be mindful of our revenues and expenditures as we budget for the upcoming year. Additionally, the cost of capital expenditures continue to rise. For example, the projected cost that we know a couple of years ago for Percy Julian High School was estimated to be between $70 and $80 million. That figure has now more than doubled with an approved contract of $142 million, driven by inflation, tariffs, and broader economic pressures. Lastly, we must remain diligent in maintaining our fiscal responsibility. Personnel costs continue to represent the largest portion of our expenditures, and we must carefully manage both staffing levels and the cost of goods and services in face of inflation. We anticipate a significant increase in employee benefits this year, with projections indicating continued growth in this area over the next several years. Given these realities, now is the appropriate time, while we have funds available, to strengthen our financial foundation by increasing those reserves. Currently, our total reserves is $23.1 million, with $15 million being in capital, $4 million being in technology, $3 million being in security, and $1.1 million in vehicles. The recommended $12 million increase is intended to strengthen our long-term financial flexibility and ensure that we are better positioned to observe unanticipated expenses and economic downturns without disrupting essential services. It's also worth noting that our efforts to maintain a healthy reserve were positively recognized during our recent credit rating review. The credit review agency specifically cited our commitment to financial stability as a strength, which helped secure a favorable rating for the district. Again, I'm recommending that we increase our reserves by $12 million to continue to proactively safeguard our financial future and preserve the quality of education and services to our students.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins. Are there any questions, concerns? Well, I just want to say thank you and to your staff and the superintendent for remaining diligent in strengthening our finances by those additional reserves to ensure that there are no disruptions so that we can continue the work of what we do for children. And that's just my comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Our next agenda item also will be brought to us by Ms. Watkins. This is the April 2025 financial statement.
Okay.
I'm sorry, amended budget.
Budget
I do
amendment, okay.
apologize.
Tonight, you should have before you the budget amendment for fiscal year 2025. We normally prepare our budget in the summer of the prior year, so our budgets are due to the State Department by September the 15th. However, after those original budgets are submitted, we usually receive during that time, between that time and now, various state grants and allocations that we don't receive in time to be included in the original budget. So you will notice in the information that was provided to you, there are various fund sources that were received from the State Department after the original budget was submitted. And so that's the amendment for the state funds. Additionally, with the special revenue funds, there are carryover dollars that we are not completely aware of until after we close out our fiscal year. So carryover funds are automatically included in our budget amendment. You'll note that there were carryover funds for various fund sources that include our Title I, CSI, N&D, and Title II, amongst some other smaller Title I or federal funds. We also have an adjustment to our capital fund as well that include the reserves. And so that is the budget amendment for fiscal year 2025.
Are there any questions or concerns? All right, hearing none, our next agenda item will be the April 2025 financial statement.
Last one. So you should have before you your financial statements for April of 2025. Included in that financial statement is a snapshot analysis. This is a high-level overview of the district's financial position as of April of 2025. It highlights our revenues, our local revenues, our payroll expenditures compared to the same period in time last year, and our general fund balance. At a glance, this allows the board and the public to quickly assess the financial health of the district. Also included is a general fund budget recap. You will notice on the snapshot analysis that it has our general fund balance with $124.9 million. However, it's important to note that in the recap, it breaks out what those funds are. A lot of the funds in our general fund are specific to the funding sources that the state has awarded to us and can only be expended based on the line item that's represented there. So for example, although we have $124.9 million in our general fund, approximately $7 million of it is transportation, $1.5 million is OSR, and if you keep on down, you'll see what each line is dedicated to. So our local general funds that are at our discretion is actually at $93.9 million. We have our monthly percentages. Here. So for the month of April, April represents the 7th month of the fiscal year. So our expenditures should be at about 58.33%. Just as a side note, so when I do the financials and analyze the reports monthly, I look for the specific line items to be around that percentage. If they're not, then it lets me know that there's something that maybe we didn't budget correctly, or there may be something showing up on a line item that it should not. The district we track this for the district as to whether spending and income are on pace with our expectations. Next, you have a monthly and annual comparative statement of our revenues and expenditures. The comparative statement shows current and monthly year-to-date figures of revenues and expenditures and compares this information to the same period in time in the prior fiscal year. We also have our statement of cash flow, which provides the cash that has actually come into the district in the current month compared to the prior months, as well as the expenditures that have been made in the current month compared to the prior month. We have a visual of that same information with our inflows and our outflows. And the last section are the F reports. This is based off of the information that we upload to the State Department. We're required to upload to the State Department monthly, and it produces these financial reports that are produced from the State Department's website. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Thank you, Ms. Watkins. Our next agenda item will be Ms. Sonia Floyd, Curriculum and Associates Contract Amendment, iReady Elementary Math.
Good evening, Superintendent Byrd, Dr. Byrd, Madam President, Ms. Smith, and board members. Under the Alabama Numeracy Act, which is our ANA, elementary schools are identified as limited and full support schools are required to implement a high-quality instruction based on evidence-based comprehensive mathematics during their Tier 1 instruction. MPS has selected RCL for the curriculum as the core curriculum to provide a structured and data-driven approach. The overview of the textbook has been recognized by OMI, the Office of Mathematics Improvement, and to make sure that the curriculum is rigorous, purposefully connecting to real world, and mathematics teaching practices are embedded for teachers and students. The expected outcomes of this curriculum with the strategies to discuss, connect, and try it. Teachers use assessment data to analyze their data, student data, making informed instruction in order to make sure that they are adjusting their classroom instruction to ensure Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction is embedded throughout the week and also support your EL students, English learners, along with MTSS support for students and teachers. When we look at our data, we've seen growth with using iReady along with RCL. It is more so of a marriage, because with the RCL, the iReady portal helps support teaching and learning. And if you notice for the mid-year, for the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we've seen growth with our students. Notice that 21% at the end of the year showed growth, and that would be mid or above grade level. For early on grade level students, there was a growth from 5% to 16% from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Also, when we look at our one grade below, there was a total of 52%, which decreased to 45%. Once we get to one grade level below, we want to see a decrease in the blue for the end of the year. And notice by the 3 or more grade levels below, we have 6% of our students scoring 3 or more grade levels below for our elementary schools. Highlights for our curriculum aligns to the Alabama course of study. There are consumable, hands-on, interactive online components for our students and teachers, and aligns to, again, the MTSS, and allows teachers and students to use a digital resource to prepare for the ACAP. Any questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am. For iReady for the elementary, this will be the actually second year. For the RCL, second year.
So we've been using it more than that length of time.
Yes, ma'am. We have.
Ms. Portis?
K-5.
All right, Ms. Portis?
Thank you, Ms. Floyd. I have a question with quantity. I know one time we had to increase the contract because our numbers ran over. Are they flexible, and if we have a decrease at one school, they can move that number to another school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. What I tried to do is make sure that 10% to 15% books are ordered per school, as well as grade levels, and we do have surplus in logistics, just in case we need extra. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item will be Dr. Byrd, the memorandum of understanding between Alabama Education Association and Montgomery County Board of Education.
Yes, ma'am. Board members, we are excited and honored that we have one of our very own that has been elected president of the Alabama Education Association. And as a result, we have an MOU that's before you on tonight between MPS and AEA. This MOU, it has been reviewed by our attorney, and so as a result, we're asking for your approval on tonight.
All right, thank you, Dr. Byrd. Consent agenda.
Board members, Superintendent requests your approval for our consent agenda items A through G.
The superintendent has made a recommendation for the approval of the consent agenda items A through G. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve items on the consent agenda, item A through G.
Second it.
All right. It has been motioned and second. All those in favor, do so by showing of hands. It is unanimous. All right. Our next agenda item is, again, Dr. Byrd, consider for approval.
Thank you, Madam President. Superintendent requests your approval of the personnel report, certified personnel, pulling item number 34.
The superintendent has made a recommendation for the personnel report, certified personnel, with the pulling of item number 34. Is there a motion?
I motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for 17A, personnel report, certified personnel.
And that's with pulling item numbers.
Up with item number 34 pulled. Thank you.
All right, there. It has been motioned and second. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, discussion? I'm sorry.
Do we need to add on the item 165, which is the last item on the list, do we need to add an effective date? There's nothing there.
Number was that again?
165. It would say this current school year, 24, 25. If that's what it was, I don't know. Yeah, she doesn't know, so.
It's there.
It's just, you've got to put that 24, 25.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that correction.
It is, she confirmed it's 24, 25.
Yes, ma'am. So on item 165, we do need to add an effective date, which the effective date is 2024. That's 2025.
So the superintendent is now recommending the personnel report certified personnel, pulling number 34, adding the effective date for number 165. All right, now, is there a motion?
I'd like to accept the resignation. Okay, now I'm completely confused. I would like to ask that we accept the recommendation for the personnel certified report, pulling number 34 and dating the last one, number 165 for 2024, 2025.
I second.
It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by showing of hands. It is unanimous.
Thank you. Superintendent requests your approval of the personnel report certified addendum.
Superintendent has made a recommendation for the personnel report certified addendum. Is there a motion?
I'd like to ask a question, please.
All right. Go ahead.
I would like to ask, these are listed, but where are they just?
Let me get the motion first. Is there a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the amendment, personnel amendment.
All right, so there's a motion to accept the superintendent's personnel report certified addendum. Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion?
Yes. We don't know where they are, what the locations are. We don't know the locations of these personnel contract.
Is there,
It's just
there a
not
partic-
listed.
is there a particular number?
Mm-hmm. We're missing a column.
Ms. Murray's going to provide us with a
Thank
little bit more clarity. Thank you, Ms. Murray.
There's not a location listed in the addendum because the principal, the contracts are specific to the position as a principal in the district. So they could be transferred at any time, they could be reassigned at any time, so the contract's not specific to a school.
Thank you. Thank you for making that clarification.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor, has been moved in second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, do so by showing of hands. It is unanimous. Dr. Byrd, personnel report classified personnel.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Superintendent requests your approval of personnel report, classified personnel.
All right, the superintendent has made a motion for the approval of C, personnel report, classified personnel.
Madam President, I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation for classified personnel.
It has been moved in second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation of personnel report, classified personnel, do so by showing of hands. It is unanimous.
Thank you so much. Superintendent requests your approval of the personnel reports for our teams contracts.
The superintendent's made a recommendation for the approval of the personnel report teams contract. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the personnel report teams contracts.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It has been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Cloud?
Okay, there are like, on number, for an example, on number 27, advanced 3-year. And then on number 28, advanced 3-year, there's a huge difference in the and the salary. And you,
Yes, ma'am. So that may be contributed to the number of years as well as the degree that they hold.
there's just several that
Yes, ma'am.
jump pretty, like on 20, 47 and 48. Both advanced 3-year, both science, and you've got a large difference.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that's the number of years that someone's,
Right. The number of years as well as the degrees that they hold. Yes, ma'am.
okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other discussion?
I just have another comment, and a lot of times you'll see it with math,
Mm-hmm.
because we are trying to steal people with
Yes,
higher degrees to help in the district with math. So,
And
a lot of
science
times-
also, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and it's been seconded for the approval of the personnel report teams report. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. All right, this meeting, the board meeting is now adjourned. Everybody that want to leave a chance.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what'd you say, so you can keep up? All right, thank you all. The next session will be the Montgomery County Board of Education work session. It is now being called to order. There is still a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as is.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
It has been motion and second in the discussion. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right, at this time, we'll receive as information from Ms. Laura Penn, Volkert update.
Good evening. There we go. All right, let's start off. First project, Phase 1 of the Percy Julian High School relocation of Todd Road. Project is currently 69% complete. The City of Montgomery Planning Commission approved the dedication of the new Todd Road at last month's meeting. And then we've got the project vacation packet anticipated for review and approval at this month's City Council meeting next Tuesday. This is just a great aerial view of the new Todd Road, and the road actually borders the upper tree line in the picture. Our second aerial picture shows the limits of improvement to the boulevard median. work, and that median started the end of last month, and it will continue through July. Photo here is of the road demolition and storm pipe actually being placed there in the median of the boulevard. Going into our phase 2, which is the new campus for the high school, we kicked off the start of the project with the pre-construction meeting on May 22nd. Doster's notice to proceed will be issued the 16th of this month, and we have an anticipated substantial completion slated for December 2027. The GC has staked property lines. Our site contractor has started clearing and grubbing of the property, and the demolition of the existing structures, which is that residential home and barn, has actually been taken down. Here's another, it's actually our first aerial photo of the entire school site prior to construction starting, so I think it's going to be a great photo just to see the progress as we go each month. And this view is actually if you're standing at the boulevard, kind of shooting, facing east. In this aerial photograph, the bottom left-hand side of the photo shows the demolition of the existing residential home, which was located right there at the Old Todd Road. Moving into the Park Crossing Fieldhouse project, we've got final cleanup progressing. The GC is addressing punch list items. We've got installation of the door signage in progress, and the owner-provided hardware and cores are being installed by the GC, and then we've got final inspection with the state scheduled the 18th of this month. Just an interior photograph taken right at the entry of the field house. Here's a secondary interior view of completed work. It should be noted that our wall graphics have been installed. The actual shot on the right is entering into the head football coach's office. Here's a view of the entry and conference room. Since this picture has been taken, Chad and his team has actually been out, and we've got graphics along that window wall, which looks amazing. So if you haven't had a chance to go by there, stop in and just see it. It looks really good. Again, another interior view of the offensive film room and locker room. And then the rubber flooring for the weight room has been installed, and we're currently waiting on the weight equipment to be delivered. Rolling into South Lawn Middle School Gym Addition, we're currently tracking at 68% complete. So our biggest progress since last month has been the roof install and the interior walls receiving primer and paint. What we've tasked the GC for the goal of this month is to get the building fully enclosed. We need to get the HVAC units fired up, and we need to get the building acclimated to the cooler temperatures. We also need to start getting above ceiling inspections and scheduled for the building. Interior view of the main gymnasium, which has received the first coat of paint. Again, photo on the left shows accent paint being applied, and that's in the interior of the concession room. And then here's a secondary view of the weight room. We've got minimal visual progress shown from last month. However, we do have overhead electrical and mechanical ready for inspection. So that's one thing that we need to get checked off this month. And then for our MBE, DBE participation, our overall monthly participation, there's been no changes captured this month. However, next month, there will be a significant increase for the amount shown on the construction contracts since receiving the PO for the Percy Julian High School project. With that update, we will also update Doster's MBE, DBE participation on the GC side and hopefully capture that for y'all next month. Any questions or comments?
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give me a date of completion for South Lawn one more time?
We are anticipating the contractor completing that in October of this year. Currently, their current schedule had them completing in July. And we are, between the architect and the Volkert team, we are currently under review with some days that are due to the GC.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Penn.
Yes, ma'am.
Our next agenda item will be brought to us by Dr. Sibley, CTE textbook selection and adoption.
Thank you. Good evening. President Watkins Smith, Vice President Portis, esteemed board members, Superintendent Byrd, educators, community members, and friends. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Montgomery Public Schools Career and Technical Education Department. I am LaTanya Sibley, and I have the honor of serving as the CTE Director, and I will present the work of our CTE textbook adoption committees, led by my team members, Mrs. Nikila Taylor Adams and Dr. Erica Bush, who are CTE education specialists. In response to Alabama Code 163662, our department began the textbook adoption committee process. As part of this process, our department collaborated with principals and organized 3 dedicated CTE adoption committees. The committees included arts, audiovisual, technology and communications, health science, and human services. Each committee engaged in a thorough and structured review process to ensure the recommended textbooks are fully in line with the Alabama State Department of Education CTE program standards, reflect current industry expectations, and support the academic and career success of all of our scholars. Selected textbooks displayed on the screens prioritize instructional quality and real-world application with the goal of preparing both students for both post-secondary education and workforce entry. The Arts AV Committee has chosen graphic communications, digital design and print essentials. The Health Science Committee has selected 2 key textbooks, Introduction to Media Terminology and Introduction to Health Science. For the Human Services Committee, the selected textbooks is Apparel, Fashion Design, and Construction, all selected from the Goodhart Wilcox Company, Incorporated. These recommendations represent the collaborative work of experienced educators, students, and parents who are also professionals in business and industry, working together to ensure that the materials meet student needs and uphold the integrity of our CTE programs. We are requesting board approval for the state-adopted CTE textbooks full list provided by ALSDE. This ensures alignment with state standards and allows flexibility to purchase textbooks based on program needs. As CTE pathways may shift due to student interest, industry demand, or state requirements, Full access to the list supports timely, cost-effective decisions. Thank you for supporting our scholars in both college and careers. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
I just have a comment.
Okay, Dr. Keith and then Ms. Portis.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you for those textbooks, specifically the health science, because there's so many students that do not understand that field at all. And it's a relatively new field, probably within the last, 7, 8 years. And there's a lot of girls, even guys, that dream of being nurses. But when you look at their test scores and stuff like that, you know they're not going to be nurses. And this field is a great equalizer. And I say that because when I was at South University for 12 years, it was my job to, I can't tell you how many students would go, I promised my grandmother I was going to be a nurse and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't realize that this is the field. In fact, I taught all 3 of my own kids are in this. They either have a master's in it or a bachelor's, but each of them did something with health science because it's such an open field where you can work with the elderly, where you can work with teens, where you actually work for, and do human resources for hospitals. Because I remember saying to them, wouldn't it be nice that you would be the one hiring the doctors and nurses? And somehow by sitting them down and saying that, it was a great way to make them understand it. So I'm glad you guys are doing the 2 textbooks. I think is great, and it's the title of the one. At least lets me know that they're going to know what it is, because a lot of people are like, "What is that?"
Yes,
Thank you.
and thank you, Dr. Keith.
Oh, yes. Did I understand you to say that you had there were industry people on your committee?
Yes, ma'am, the parents were
Okay.
from industry and business as well.
Also, do they not require a handbook for our safety kids?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But I can check on it.
Yeah, because since safety is and I know we have all that nice equipment over there at Impact, and the students are doing such great work, I was just wondering what we could get to support them if they needed something. I guess Mr. Daniels would tell you.
Ma'am, thank you, Ms. Portis.
Okay, and I had one question. My question was, what is the cost per student, and what is included in the cost when it comes to the print, the digital, the teacher edition, and everything along that line, if you have it?
Yes, ma'am. We have quotes available, and we got quotes for physical textbooks as well as ebooks to meet the diverse student needs. And I can provide those quotes to you at this time or another time. I have them.
Okay, that's fine. And then the other thing, and you can provide this later too, what is the licensing duration for the digital material? And the reason I bring it up a long time ago, when I first got on the board, that was one of the things that was brought up about our digital licensing. And if you can provide what is the licensing duration for the digital material, and are the updates included in that?
Yes, ma'am. I'll get that information to you.
All right, and then one last question, and I may have missed it, but the content, is this content current with today's industry standards and technological advancements?
Yes, ma'am. The committee were provided with these current standards as well as the industry needs. And so when they were doing the review of the textbooks, they had it all laid out. We had committee meetings, and they went through each one, and they reviewed them and rated them.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chad Anderson, facilities update. And after Chad, it will be Dr. King with the charter school update and renewal process.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Dr. Byrd, Mrs. Watkins-Smith, Ms. Portis, and members of the board. If you'll look at your spreadsheet, your capital project spreadsheet with me, we've discussed the darker areas, the darker gray areas with the Volkert capital plan. Looking down below at the Morning View and Davis HVAC projects, those projects are beginning to mobilize. We've have all the contracts signed. We actually have the pre-construction meeting scheduled for Monday, so those are going to be pushing forward hot and heavy. We did get a request from the Morning View contractors. They want to move ahead with storefront windows, and instead of the prefabricated panels that like we typically used at Goodwin. We offered that to the Davis as well. The difference being there's a lead time on the prefabricated panels, and the contractors at Morning View wanted to get ahead and get started. The contractors at Davis elected to stay with the prefabricated panels, so there will be you'll see a little bit of a lag as far as the wait time, as far as what's going on in each of the projects, but each one will move well once they get started in their respective type of scope of work with that. But the contractor that's actually at Davis was the one at Goodwin as well, and they completed their project ahead of schedule. So we anticipate the same thing here, pending weather and any kind of delays. We'll keep you posted on that. The Park Crossing turf and track replacement, we actually met Monday to go over the turf instructions, turf care and maintenance instructions. The turf is complete. They had planned on putting the second coat of paint on the track this week, but with the weather, they're looking for a clear day or two to be able to put the second coat of paint, and then shortly thereafter, they'll put the striping on the paint for the lanes. They anticipate to be completed with that next week, and will allow the school to be able to utilize that fully. The Carver High School turf and track replacement, if you've been there, they've been working on removing the surface off the track, and also working on analyzing the subsurface with that. And so we will be bringing a change order to you for the subsurface, because it's an unforeseen circumstance there with what's underneath the track. You don't know until you pull that up, but that's why we did unit pricing on that. And we're still under budget from what was allocated for that project at the onset of it. They have started to cut around the track itself. They're going to be pouring a concrete curb similar to the one that's at Park Crossing. In the initial construction, it wasn't put in with the original construction. So that's one thing that'll really maintain the life of the track and help that with it as well. And then they're also going to be removing the dirt in the middle of the field once it dries out a little bit from the weather that we've received. The Forest Avenue roof replacement and South Lawn Elementary roof replacement, both those designs are being completed as we speak. We're a little further ahead on the Forest Avenue roof replacement design. They're taking that to DCM for their final approvals, and we'll start advertising that as quickly as possible. South Lawn Elementary, there were a few things with the elevation. They wanted to look at the parapets that are around the building and make sure that we fit those correctly and do the things that need to be done to make that as watertight as possible. And then the JAG athletic improvements, we're going to be budgeting, as we talked about before. I know we weren't able to go as far down on our capital plan with the cost of construction that was going on, but we're going to be utilizing ATF funds to help us with the athletics and PE improvements to those field areas behind JAG. So we're going to take that off in phases to make sure we can get all of that complete as well, and keep working down our list of the capital improvement plan. But we've released the architect. The design was complete. They just wanted to make a few adjustments and tweaks to things, to some cost savings measures that we thought would benefit the district on that and make our funds stretch a little further. And we should be bidding that out here pretty soon, I would say, first of the school year, early fall, that we'll have something out on the street for a bid and approval, and then we'll be bringing it to you for final approval.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Are there any questions? All right, Dr. King. After Dr. King, we'll have Ms. Jamie Wilson with the 2025-2026 proposed school calendar amendment.
I wanted to also say one last thing. When Ms. Laura Penn was talking about the graphics, those graphics were completed by 2 students from Brewtech that we've been able to hire on for summer help, and they are awesome. I wish we could keep them. They're going to be heading to Alabama and Tuskegee respectively, but they have really helped us propel ahead with the design and graphics over there in maintenance. Just their young, fresh eyes, and what they do, they just pick up things so quickly, but they've been an awesome addition.
Glad to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Byrd, President Smith, Vice President Portis, and all board members. The purpose of the night is just to share with you, to give you an update on the charter school renewal timeline for MPS, and to just go over some data points. I mean, not data points, but just to go over this. So our timeline for the 2024, 2025 charter school oversight. We've looked at data, complaints, and document review from August 5th, 2024 until May 31st, 2025. We finalized core frameworks and letter of corrective actions sent to Life Academy and MEF, MCS Incorporated on May 30th, 2025. So one of the requests for all schools is to approve, they must have an approved school improvement plan, Cognia, either done by Cognia or other research-based comprehensive school improvement process that focus on report card indicators, which look at academic achievement, growth, and chronic absenteeism. The other just highlights in terms of other things we're looking at is Life Academies and MEFs, MCS Incorporated's financial audits, which are due to the state examiners annually. And then Life Academy outstanding invoices payable to MPS. And then present, which we share with you, the corrective actions, give recommendations for renewal or non-renewal by July 8th, 2025 during the board work session. And in our interpretation, we must notify charter schools by July 15th. That's why on July 8th, we will come to you. Now, Life Academy, what we look at is their response to our inquiry, especially when we get complaints from the state, any investigations. So it's our job as authorizers to look into that, and then we report back to the state. They do have, this year had a report card, a grade of a D. And then we do look at academic achievement, which is a report card grade. We look at a number of other things too, such as number of student withdrawals within the period, culture and climate, based on what we can glean from that, discipline and attendance, and we look at due process, absenteeism, and truancy. So the financial concerns that we've gleaned so far is that Life Academy has not paid outstanding MPS invoices, and that is, I think it's 2% of the operating cost, and I think Pamela is here. She can speak to that. I'm not in her domain. There are annual audit reports missing at the state, or I think we call it the state, but it really is the examiners, the state examiners. I think the office that presented today. We were under the impression that it was the State Department, because we send all of the communication to the State Department. It's the charter school and STC department. So there are some corrections we can make, but that's what our assumptions were. So then when you move, I'm sorry, I'm on the next page. I'm sorry, I'm already on the other page. I'm sorry. So when you move to Life Academy, in terms of the corrective actions, they have submitted their a school improvement plan. We originally sent out the communication in December of 2024. At that time, we just gave them, hey, we recommend it. It wasn't necessarily like we said it's a must. So Life Academy is the only one that responded and did give us a school improvement. So we will be looking at that. And so again, we're looking at report card grade. That's the weight that we look at. And then academic achievement, growth, and chronic absenteeism. And paying of outstanding invoices to MPS by July 1, 2025, all pending annual audit reports that have not been given to the Alabama State Education and the Alabama Department of Examiners of Public Accounts. We've asked for that. We also have asked for the compliance monitoring reports since opening. And so, because we really rely on information from the charter schools, and they get this information from the state, but if we don't ask for it, we may not get it. So we've asked for it. And so we want the final reports, and that's what we followed up and asked in our corrective action, enrollment audits of also special subgroups data, and that deals with federal programs that they are supposed to provide these services, and inventory records. And the importance of this is that any funds bought or purchased, and we just want to make sure that, if they're using title funds, that they are actually properly inventorying and then keeping up that for the sake of the students. And so switching to Davis, again, they have a report card of an F. Again, we're looking at academic achievement. There are, in terms of culture and climate, things that we can consider: discipline and attendance, number of student withdrawals, financial concerns, et cetera. So since I've been here, I haven't seen any information from MEF in terms of their financial. I think, well, it's not think, for the most part, we get what we provide them in terms of the budget that we give them, but in terms of MEF's financial information, I believe we're entitled to that. The MEF PLA systems are not compatible with Next Gen, and that has really created more work for Pamela. And as you know, when Pamela was doing 2 roles, she was actually getting the information and interpreting it and trying. So now, when you see in the corrective action, it's a must that they adopt Next Gen. It's not optional, and that's going to be a part of the consideration for us moving forward. And we also need the annual audit reports, just like we've asked for Life Academy. So Davis corrective action, again, we needed a school improvement plan. And again, we sent out the same letter in December saying, hey, we provide technical assistance, but we strongly recommend that you do this. But again, we did not necessarily receive that. And so we asked for all pending annual audits that were due to the state and then also due to us. And then I just want to, like at the bottom of it, the annual audits, it is a year behind, so 2024 won't be until next year. So, but again, we still have contracts with them, so I just making it in advance knowledge of that. Then Nixon corrective action, they actually still, even though they are not on the renewal, however, we still gave corrective action for them to start this year, because this time next year we'll be looking at whether or not we're going to renew Nixon and Bellingraph. So that's why you see a corrective action. So they're not in renewal for this year, but it's next year. But we expect some improvement before we get to this time next year. So again, all of these things are pretty consistent. I do apologize on the, I'm still on Davis. I'm sorry. I'm talking to my notes. So this is Nixon. And again, annual audits, and I do have a mistake there, and I will correct that on the year, because from 2021, since the schools have started, it's really is a year after they started. And so I don't have the exact date when we started, but this is just an anticipated in terms of the audits that we need. Again, Bellingraph is in corrective action. It's also a CSRR school, which means it's one of 10 schools in the state that has identified as needing additional on the comprehensive school improvement list, which means the state paid for their cognitive review, diagnostic review. So the state provides that support for them. So that's one thing that they are going through now, because we attended a meeting with them early in the year. And again, these same indicators in terms of what we'll be looking at: academic achievement, chronic absenteeism, and so, I'm sorry, that's on Bellingraph. Yeah. And so, in all pending audit, it's pretty consistent, but I just want to highlight the reason why I put that there is to understand each school is different, but if it's the same, same company, I just want to be clear that we're asking for it, even though it's the same for all 3 schools, because MEF oversees all 3 schools. But I just make sure we request that information, even though it may be the same, but it's the same company, but it's just different schools. So in other words, if they had one school, it would just be one company. You know, if it was 3 different schools, 3 different companies, we would request the same information. So that's why you see that duplication there. And then contract amendment, which is going to be very important. Contract amendments are important because of some of the things that we notice within the framework. There are different categories by which you can judge a particular school. And so there are some cases where a school could say exceed standards, but yet they have an F report card. So we have to reconcile that, because that is sort of, it doesn't give the true picture of what's happening in the school. So that's one thing we are going to correct, and this is based on the national standards that originally gave us the framework. I'm not sure how the expectations was lowered when they adopted the framework, but we definitely will address that, and it'll be a lot. In our view, it's going to really compare apples to apples, and what you really are looking at in terms of data, in terms of student attendance, truancy. And one thing that was not on there, which we in our own school, we hold schools accountable for, is attendance. Like, why wasn't attendance in there? So that's one thing we're going to add to it, because if your truancy rate is over close to 30 or 40%, that's an issue. And then when you look at student withdrawals and how often students are going leave, and then how often, whether or not truancy protocols are being followed, that's one of the things that we're putting in there. So these are some of the highlights. Certainly, some of these things are federal guidelines in terms of federal documentation of record keeping, staff, parental rights to know, similar to what we follow through, staff qualifications in terms of federal reporting. And then also, it's really important in terms of the enrollment of the special subgroups, and then making sure that they have services. And so, and I just like to say, because when Mr. Isaac actually joined our team, he actually brought a whole different wealth of knowledge in terms of some compliance things that's just going to strengthen what our accountability and oversights will be. So I just want to share that. Also, it's important that even in our own schools, there's no fees for federal funded items or services. That is, if it's a Title I school, they're receiving services, we cannot charge parents or students for participation. That creates an inequity. ASIP and tied to budgets. And I want to also highlight this. The ASIP is a form of a school improvement plan. However, what we're talking about is you got to take it a step further beyond that, because apparently if the ASIP was effective, it would show improvement. So we're asking for something beyond that. And that's why we said either Cognia, or you could get a research-based company, but that's on them to decide. We just provide technical assistance. Now, we did say that in December. I said that in December. And again, I want to reiterate, only one school responded. And so we'll go from that. And then the federal financial and programmatic requirements, and then the foster care plan, which is a part of federal programs. So core performance framework amendments, these are some of the things we're going to talk about that is going to be revised. And again, the standards are aligned with what in some national frameworks, which we use, is how we should measure this. So student progress over time, reading and math, subgroup reading and math, which we do measure now. It's just that the percentage is low. So it can, like, again, you can show you exceeding, but yet you have an F report card. So the goal is to reconcile those two. And so we want to make sure that, and we're going to make sure schools replying with reporting requirements, governments and reporting, culture and climate, because one of the things you want to do is, just like we give our surveys, we want to know how the parents are doing, and just like Dr. Bird, we get stakeholder feedback. We're going to actually make sure that those parents' voice are heard, so we'll look at that too. And then discipline, establish the criteria, but then also making sure that students' rights are protected, and that parents' rights are also protected, especially when it comes to due process and hearings. And so evidence of ATOT in terms of teacher evaluations, that's one indicator. If you're going to improve instruction, is you got to look at teacher evaluation. And again, parent engagement. And this is another thing in terms of the response rate. And this response rate, because it's important that you get a representative sample of the majority of your parents and our people that are stakeholders in the school. So this is some of the things that we're putting in here, and that's all I have for tonight. And I think that was, well, they say I talk too much, but anyway. Yes, ma'am.
I don't even know how to respond to that, Dr. King. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question on how did the reconciliation get so far off?
With the frameworks?
Yes.
I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how the framework was developed. When you look at the National Charter School Association that actually recommended it, it is different. It's a lot more strenuous. Like, for example, if you're looking at math growth, for example, it's at 90%, not at 25%. The way or that's not even measured. Mm-hmm. Or if it says there's some, like, attendance is a part of those in terms of measuring people's attendance. So I wasn't here to know what that was. It's just some of the things that, since I've been here looking at it, and then we did our own research and found the same framework. And so that's how that informed us move in this process now. So we also, in terms of what we learned, like from oversight and the burden that it's on us to kind of be accountable to the state when we get complaints, it's just some of the things, if we could put in place and have it as a regular ongoing expectation, then it's a lot easier for us, and it's a lot easier for us to make a recommendation for you to the board, and then have some data points that which you can inform your decisions. I just, just being new to it, we just discovered it, like, in our research. That's how we found it. And then
that's fair. And the other thing, lesson learned, mm-hmm. Will there be some rhythms put in place to do process checks?
Oh, definitely.
More frequently?
Definitely. We did hire, thank you all for approving. We hired a charter liaison in April, so definitely. And that's what her work is now. And we did, and I just want to state for the record, we received, I would say a number of documents. I mean, stacks of documents that we reviewed. So we looked at what they presented to us, and so we took that into consideration. And then we have a team, very capable team of knowing what the expectations are. So I just I'm proud of our team in terms of taking that. But yes, ma'am, it is in play. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
I'd just like to make a point that I think the ball was sort of dropped when we were under intervention, and we did not realize that we were authorizers and that we had this information. The State Department just one day said that we are authorizers, and I think that's pretty much where the ball was dropped. And they had already put the charter school wheel was in place. So therefore, we had to pick up from what they had put in place, and we weren't there at the beginning for the setup. So now this is a good time for us to reset.
Madam Chair, I'm very much aware that Dr. Keith had her hand up next. My comments are in the same ballpark, so thank you. What I'm hearing, and I think we're all three in about the same place, when we talk about being in alignment, are we comparing the standards, the national standards, with the data or information or set points that were outlined in the proposal? And that's why we can have some excellence and very goods, you know.
Well, no, two things. In the contract between Montgomery Public Schools and the Life Academy and then MEF, MCS, it speaks of parameters by which we engage in relationship. And then Erica could speak to some of the contract language. But in the contract, it states that you would follow the annual performance framework as one of the conditions that you agree to. So the performance framework is out. It's a part of it, but it is different. It's like an attachment and amendment, but the contract talks about, for example, we as authorizers, I can request any information about investigations, parent complaints. We need information, we request information that way, but the framework was developed it was adopted because from this national organization, NASCA or something like that. I think that's the acronym. So I hope I answer your question, but it's outside of, it's a part of the contract, but the contract really are those things that we agree to on both sides. And then there's two things. The contract, there are, and Erica could speak to this, but the contract is things that if it's breached, then there's remedies, and then there's the framework. The framework is how we evaluate their performance. So it's two different, it's sort of one and the same, but not one and the same, but it's a part of it. So I don't think I did a good job of that.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam President, I'm going to begin with two words. I'm frustrated. Okay? And it's, I sat in this meeting too. I came to this meeting with the charter schools. You were there. Let me start with a few questions and then I'll get to my point. When we were looking at your PowerPoint, you had the first school, the Life Academy, then you did Davis, and you gave us their grades. I realized the other two are not up for renewal, but you didn't tell us their grades.
Yes, ma'am. I said it was F. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear what Bellingraph was.
Bellingraph was an F. I apologize.
And I didn't
Dr.
hear
King.
what Nixon was.
Nixon is a D.
Okay.
And it's also not on here, so I missed that. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I didn't say that. All right, and my problem with this is we had acknowledged back in March, because that was when the meeting was, that we had dropped the ball. We did not get the letters out. We had a certain time limit, and I looked like the butthead, to put it nicely. I could say something else, but I'm not, okay? I said, are we going to get that letter out? Is every school going to get that letter? Is Nixon going to get it? Is Bellingraph going to get it? Did they get the letter? Did they all get the letter? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, that's the December letter I was speaking to about. Okay. So in December, I sent out 2 letters in December. And the December letters were like recommendations at the time because of technical assistance, and we hadn't finished we hadn't finished allowing them to give as much information to us to look at them fairly. So that letter went out in December, and that's what I was referencing when I said.
We can make excuses all day long. Nobody said COVID. We've got intervention. I was here before intervention, and I don't buy the intervention thing. That's nothing against my colleague because I love her, but I don't buy that at all. I think we keep making excuses and we keep spinning the ball because the data. And we supposedly have a new superintendent that is data-driven. So I want it noted today that I'm asking for data. I want to know attendance of each of these schools. I want to know the withdrawal rate. I don't want a yearly report. I want a quarterly report. I was that person that pushed the charter schools, mainly because I wanted to show, hey, this is what's wrong with MPS. They're a competitive entity to us, and I can't, now when I hear and I'm having to hear D's, F's, I'm not trying to look for proof against MPS. I mean, but why are we supporting things that we're not getting the data? Why are we continually saying we dropped the ball, we dropped the ball? Why are we continually jump starting and re-jump starting? I was at that meeting in March where we said that was the jump start. Here we are in June, and I'm hearing, well, let's start again.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm frustrated.
No, I understand that.
And
Doc-
I think rightfully so.
Yeah, and I understand, Dr. If I'm, oh, go ahead.
Can I think we missed, but there was a report, when we sat in that meeting, we have sent them a letter. According to your information, did they not get a letter for corrective action
No, the
in
corrective
May?
action didn't happen until May because we have an obligation as an authorizers. The burden of proof is really rests with us. So we wanted to make sure that we've done all we can in terms of reviewing all of their data points, because that is what is required from our understanding of the state statute.
But I think that's what she's asking.
No,
you.
no,
So-
no, no. I heard, when I left that meeting, time was of the essence. We had,
Right.
if you were there, we
And
had
it
to get
didn't-
the letter out within the next week.
Right.
And now you're telling me May?
Right.
I'm not,
No, that's
what?
two different things. There's two different things. We didn't have at the time that we met, we were not ready for that because we were still in the process of reviewing
So
the
we didn't
framework.
get, but why tell me we were getting a letter? I went, because I remember being like I am now. I went, are we getting the letter out in the next, and I was given a yes.
Well, I apologize for that, Dr. Keith, but that was, well, and I understand that, but that was not, that was not the intent. So when I looked at the timeline, in terms of what our timeline was, we followed the timeline, and that's a lot, and I understand your frustration, so I do that. But in terms of to answer your question, yeah, quarterly reports will be a part of that.
Did these last two schools, did every school, I'm going to go back. When we discuss this again, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to have it on my phone. Did Nixon, did Bellingraph, did all these schools get a letter in May then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cloud?
Thank you. It's a timeline. There's years that when you go through monitoring that you start and it's almost like a self-reporting. You tell what you're going to do, then you do the second year, then you do the third year. It rolls into that. With federal programs, because they do accept federal funds, they have to follow those guidelines and those laws and rules and procedures also. So they don't only have the Charter School Commission to go to, they go deeper because they're receiving those funds just like a private school would do. If they receive federal funds, they have to go through the same hoops. So what he's telling you is there's a cycle that we have to get to. They have those opportunities, checkpoints. If we've fallen out anywhere, it might have been the checkpoints, but we can correct that because now they've got a corrective action plan, which all schools that receive any kind of federal funds have to do a corrective action. They correct it, then we do a review one more time and see where they are. That's the best way I know how to explain it.
Thank you, Ms. Cloud. That helped with the
Good.
clarification.
Yeah, that did. Because, I mean, it is required of us as the authorizer to provide that opportunity for them to respond to it. But I do understand. But thank you, Board Member Cloud.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. King. Now we'll have Ms. Wilson.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Byrd, members of the board. I have two items to discuss and to present with you. The first one is an amendment to the 25-26 school calendar. Specifically, we are recommending the addition of 2 asynchronous learning days on Friday, September 19th and Friday, February 6th. These days serve two purposes. We have some dual purpose in these asynchronous learning days. Students can participate in meaningful assignments, catch up on schoolwork, have some digital supports that have been structured by teachers beforehand. Oftentimes, they are finishing projects, large paper assignments, and sometimes interventions happen at that time as well to reinforce key standards. In efforts to support our staff, these days are dedicated to professional development and collaborative planning. Teachers and staff use this time to analyze student data, refine instructional practices, and we've talked a lot about participating in job-embedded training. We've already started to begin the process to develop a plan to support our staff during these additional days. If you look at the calendar, Friday, September 9th falls about 6 weeks into the instructional year, allowing teachers to assess early progress, make some instructional adjustments, and for us, we're able to capture some new hires in that time period and perhaps have a new teacher orientation at that time. February 6th comes at a natural midpoint in the spring semester following winter assessments, so the mid-year assessments, but right ahead of the high-stakes state tests that happen in March and April. So we look forward to that day as well. Scheduling these on Fridays minimize disruption to the instructional week, while students preserve high-impact opportunities for staff development and student reflection. So it makes sense for students to know there's asynchronous learning on a Friday as opposed to any other day in the week. We believe these 2 added asynchronous learning days will support our mission to strengthen teaching and learning across the district, and I just respectfully request the board's consideration for approval on this calendar amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Any questions, Ms. Cloud?
Okay, this has been a concern of mine forever and a day. We send them on spring break, the 16th to the 20th. They come back and they do state assessment. Consciously, whether we need to or not, we're telling our students, hey, take a break. We've been working hard, but you're going to come back and do testing. We need to together, even if they're ready to do testing, then have spring break. A lot of school systems are moving to that state assessment time. Either we pick up early state assessment dates, or because we're shooting ourselves in the foot. It's like at Christmas. You know, Christmas time, they have 2 weeks off. They come back, they're walking around like, okay, I'm going to get back into the rhythm, to the routine. That's across the board. Pre-K through 12. They're all coming back, trying to get back into the rhythm. We've got to pay attention to letting them have that time off, that full week, and then bringing them back for state assessments. I just feel like that's almost unfair to all of us, when we could work hard, push to the finish, give them the reward of go through state assessments, and then let them have a week off. I know it's close to time for them to get out, but again, I see it being, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. That's really, I think you would see a big difference in state assessments if we kept pushing through, even though I know that's time and we can't change the calendar now, but it really has been a concern of mine for years and years and years. Because what are we telling our children subconsciously? We're working hard, go have a break, then come back and you're testing. So, I don't know. It concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cloud. Any other discussion? All right, Ms. Wilson, you also have the wireless communication device policy.
Yes, so we are proposing, this is for your review to be approved at a later date, but beginning in July, the Senate Bill 92, also known as the Focus Act, which refers to freeing our classrooms of unnecessary screens for safety, has passed into law. And so that states that all school boards must adopt an internet safety policy that addresses student access to the internet on district-owned devices and prohibits the use of, and operation and possession of wireless communication devices on public properties. unless a legally approved exceptions apply. So all wireless communication devices must be turned off and stored away from their student's person in a locker, vehicle, or other secure storage area for the duration of the instructional day. This bill does apply to all public school property. That includes classrooms, hallways, buses, and any other area designated on school property. So what's an instructional day? Right? So the period of time in which a public elementary or a secondary school is open in session for the purpose of meeting the minimum instructional days or hours. So this includes the whole day. And so for students, any students or parents listening, that includes lunch, transition time. Once you enter into our school day, that is considered the instructional day. So that is the period of time which cell phones have to be turned off and stored away and off their persons. The wireless communication device does allow for exceptions under this law. Exceptions would include the use or part of a student's IEP, 504 plan, or individualized health plan. The device is also allowable for educational purposes in the activity as staff supervised. And there is an emergency part in this law that says there is an emergency that threatens the life or safety of a student or another person. And that is the language straight from the Act. So what that says for us is that starting in the 2025-2026 school year, students are not allowed to use or operate wireless communication devices in any elementary or secondary building or on school grounds during the instructional day. Students may not bring wireless communication devices to school unless it is turned off and stored away from the student's persons. Currently, our policy states that students may possess a cell phone on school property, but use of such cell phone during the school day is not allowed. So our school district, the board, has approved for us to require students to keep their phones off and away anyway. So we are already aligned with what the bill proposes and has passed to follow. However, I will say we use pouches at the secondary level, and what we're going to wait on is a little bit of clarification from the State Department, which they said is forthcoming, about whether a pouch is considered off their person. So we know that it's in the pouch, we know that it's locked up for secondary, but they keep it with them. They keep it in their book bag. That is not considered at this time off their persons. We are not the only school district who has questions. In fact, all school districts have asked for clarification of this. As we know, when something passes, we want to make sure that we follow the law, but we also want to make sure that we are mindful of what that looks like application-wise. So what does that look like for students? What does that look like for parents? And we want to be, this is urgent for us, so we definitely want to bring it forward to you. And also, we are already beginning to plan whether pouches are allowed. We'll have a plan for that to put in our student code of conduct. And if pouches are not allowed, we'll also have a plan for that. Currently, our K-5, they do just what this bill says. They have cubbies in their classrooms, so cell phones are turned off in their book bag and in the cubby, and that's why that off their person is easier for K-5. It's the secondary, middle school, and high school, as you know. They'll have their book bags, they carry that around with them, they carry their pouches around with them. So we wanted to bring this to you. There was a presentation in the Board Connections where I tried to do a voiceover. I don't know if that was an irritant to you, but just trying to make sure that you're informed as we go to pass this policy later this month.
Ms. Cloud?
I understand this is very, very important, but I am going to bring this up. We have students that have, for their diabetes, they have a monitor on their arm, just like my brother does, that has to have that phone because it tells him when his blood sugar and what he needs to do. Let's say that they're up in a high school that has 3 levels. I worry about them. I do.
We do,
Well,
and that's an allowable exception for the individualized health plan.
I think, though, that needs to be so that parents won't be concerned. We're open with parents. If we're going to put it in the handbook, we need to assure the parents that due to medical, there will be an allowance for that. That's all I was trying to get to, is that part. Thank you.
And if, just to clarify, so if you go to section C of the policy draft, you'll see where we do, Ms. Cloud list that out for individualized health plans.
I have one question about, okay, the instructional day, the children that do things after school, that's outside of the instructional day?
Yes.
So they can have their phone?
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. It's good to speak to you.
We will have an update on the Teacher Retention Recruitment Committee by Dr. Lisa Key.
Okay. Good news, bad news. I don't know which I want first, but I almost feel like what I just got upset over. I will tell you by the end of the time I have with this, which is short, it won't be long. I think I know the direction we need to go. I've met with teachers. I've met with Dr. Angie Pelton. I met with tech support, Sydney. I actually even went and met with the new teachers, or the emergency teachers, and I know Dr. Bird went right after I did. And they are precious. I can see why Dr. Pelton has her whole heart and soul into what she does. But here's the issue, and I think it's something that we all have to understand. Everybody has to be a part of those teachers, whether they're emergency certified, new teachers, whatever. And when you look at the assignments and books, it's almost like, well, the right hand's handle it, or the left hand's handle it, and the right hand thinks the left hand, and nothing gets done. And what happens is, we as a board have to do some things first before, with policy. Example, you've got people in these programs for like 3 years, and we're losing them because we don't have policies in place. For example, you've got these teachers making promises where they're not accountable. They come here, they collect a check for 3 years, they get into these expensive programs that we're funding and running out of funds, by the way. And I'm not finished, because I want to tell you some of the things that just, I'm giving you the bad news first, okay? You cannot take teachers out of the classroom, away from their students, and expect them to come down here and learn, because you're taking them out of teacher classrooms. Then we change it to, well, let's put them in at 3:30. And they don't want these teachers, the ones I've talked to, including even Dr. Pelton said, you just don't have 100% of that teacher's mindset at 3:30. They just got off from teaching 180 kids. We've got to do, she's come up with a great plan where we can stagger it, especially if they're on the block schedule, and they might miss a classroom one time, and then you bring them the next month and they miss another classroom. You bring them the next month, and then before you know it, the semester's changed. So it would actually work. And instead of what you're doing, and I've got a list here, I made it. These teachers, these new teachers, have no idea what code of ethics is, what confidentiality on grades are, what Alabama core teaching standards are, students' rights, teacher bill of rights. That incidentally, we all know that came out, but the teacher bill of rights, they don't know that within 10 days you have this law we've got to have a meeting. And I'm telling you, ladies, it's got to be about accountability. And and I said this about the charter schools, instead of reporting once a year when it's too late and we're not behind the ball, we've got to have quarterly checkups. We have to make demands as a board that says, these courses will be taken the first year if you are allowed into this program. Number one, think about it. They're getting a stipend, and a healthy stipend, okay, that is running out. So if they're getting the stipend, but they're not doing the classes, okay, guess what? It's our fault because we didn't make the policy that said, did you take A, B, and C? So we've got to meet. If I've done anything with this committee, and I know y'all went, no, she didn't. I did. Okay, I did, ladies, I did. I did my homework. We have got to do the policy on this, and it has to start with accountability of this is what courses, I don't care, we have a list, but well, you have to show us proof that you're worth that stipend. And we need more funding for these teachers because, as y'all know, we have too many teachers in the program. And like I said, one last thing, I promise I'm almost done, but this is big, this is huge, I need to say this. Instead of having teachers, this is one of the things that I talked to them about, and it's not my idea, but I love the idea. We need to contract out coaches instead of making these teachers coaches who don't know the code of ethics, Bill of Rights, all that kind of stuff to teach it. If we contract it out, we're not hiring, because my idea was, hey, what do we need to hire? Do we need to hire a couple of coaches? Then they came back, no, Lisa, we don't need that. We need, right now, we need to, you can't, the Wordsworth, because I took this down, I'm proud of myself because I really did work on this. Okay, we have to do a better job, because we're wasting time and money, and it says our teachers are, on year 3, and then they're leaving this, and it says we need policy for accountability. We need, where's my big word here? We can't start with a system. We have to build small and move up. To build capacity, we have to start with the core courses. In other words, some of these things that they said we're wasting, I'm not taking away from art. I'm big time into art and music, but that is something that can happen over time. We need to start with your ESLs, your math, your reading, things like that, and then build and move and pull in more people into the program as we move. But we've got to contract out. I think it was a great idea to contract out coaches. That's my update.
Dr. Key, well, I don't know, I think we're trying to talk all at the same time, so no, Dr. Bird, you go ahead.
I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Keith, and I believe that you were definitely in our heads because everything within that you just said is something that we've already talked about, and is also within in our recruitment and retention plan. You're exactly right. We have got to increase accountability, and so we have that in our plan. We have KPIs within that are in our plan that we have the supplement. I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I hope I'm not going to get anybody in trouble. I am, but if I do get them in trouble, I've told them you call me immediately if you get in trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
I did.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
did. If we've got Title II money set aside for this much, for this right here, and then you're taking it and you're allowing Title II money to be spent on this, this, and this, you've taken away from the big picture. We have got to have good teachers, and you're not going to have good teachers without good coaches. And if you're going to spend this Title II money and you start wheedling it out to this, this, and this, we got to go, hey, if you've been hired to be over this Title II, that's your job, then let some people do the job that they were hired to do.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a
And I know they're going to
collaboration.
kill me.
Ms. Cloud, we have Ms. Portis, and then.
Dr. Keith, thank you for all of your hard work. And, but one of the things too that might ease up the removing them from the classroom for the professional development. I know new teachers need to be modeled. There needs to be somebody, you can't remove them from the children. They need to see we need to see what they're dealing with when LaJohnny won't sit down. And they don't really have good classroom management yet. They'll get it, and if they have somebody to model, our retired teachers, and you're one of them, right? And I know you've talked about that a lot, just to go in the classroom with them, to model a class, to stay with them, to give them some support. And then the accountability piece, these building leaders are going to have to know who's in their building and who needs help, and then they provide that for them.
And I'll
we
tell
might
you
start
this,
losing them.
not that I didn't mean to interrupt, but when I talked to these teachers as a group, that day that I went in, it was sometime in May, because I know you went in right after me. I felt like I was looking at 10-year-olds. They were so excited that we were excited. And when I was watching Dr. Pelton, I mean, she's got the right job. We have the right person in the right job there, I will tell you, because her heart and Sydney's heart they're 100%. They want so much, but it's the policy that's not there in place that's hurting us, and that's on us. But at least, to me, I think they were honest enough to say, this is what we got to do so we can retain them. And that's the title of this, teacher retention. We can retain, but with retention comes accountability. And that's got to be set by us.
Absolutely.
Ms. Cloud?
I'm listening to this, and I think that puts us on the right track. Even the teachers that are the master teachers, and they've got their own classes, so we do probably need those retired teachers, or even the Bailey group has a set of teachers, master teachers that maybe, and we don't have to keep them forever and a day, just enough to train our trainers or get the right things into place to tell our retired teachers, bring them forward, work together for a year, then they can go out, because there's only one Angie Pelton. She can't do it all. So, but Title II funds, that's, I think, being cleaned up. We've been using that for class size reduction, which we really don't need to. That needs to go into teacher retention completely and PD. Thank you.
All right. Our next agenda item will come from Dr. Brenda Doremus Coleman on school board policy update in relation to the conference.
Okay, when you put that
Oh,
extra
well,
piece in there.
minus that extra piece, we talked about, but let me go back. School board policy update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a little confusion, and I should have recognized on the agenda the person preceding and the person following me. It said committee, and this one only said policy update. But if you will indulge me, we have been assigned committee assignments, and some of us thought that, well, I thought, that we were a policy committee when we were a goal and objectives committee. And so the report that I prepared speaks just minimally to some of our committee work, but I do talk a little bit about policy, and I'll try not to keep us long. I was hoping not to have us over 7 o'clock, so I will try and give you the Cliff Notes. But thank you again, and I do proudly co-chair the Goals and Objectives Committee with Board Member Pamela Cloud. As we continue working toward a unified vision for academic excellence, for equity, and for our operational effectiveness across the district, it's important that we reaffirm our roles and responsibilities that might be in alignment with established governance principles. As board members, we do proudly serve as stewards of policy direction, not as the administrators of day-to-day. And when we engage with the district policy committees, we attend, and this was important to me as we move forward, we are in an observatory and a collaborative capacity. We need to make certain that we work in transparency, in oversight, and again, in alignment. I spoke about the assignment. During our February board retreat, we discussed those goals and objectives, and Ms. Cloud and I were tasked with pulling together all of those goals and objectives. We did so, and we submitted our findings and our work together to our colleagues. You all have had an opportunity, I hope, to look over those, and we will hopefully get a chance to pull those together and refine those. It's important to note that according to the directive, I said our charge, according to our charge, we were to look at our audit as well, our audit and those statements that we made collectively. But in addition, Ms. Cloud brought in the 2023 commission report for the Alabama Governor's Commission in 2023. So we used, okay, when I looked it up, it said 2023, but she's saying now 2024. But we'll look at that again. but we did look at the Alabama Governor's Commission report. And I think it's important that you know we were trying to cover all bases, get in great detail. And so, you know, I wanted you all to know that it was a collaborative effort. You have that collaboration in front of you, and hopefully we will use it in a positive way. Relative to policy, okay? I am in frequent communication with district administration, Dr. Williamson and Ms. Johnson, regarding our policy updates. Recently, I did attend a meeting of the policy committee to observe and participate in discussions that were related to behavioral policies, curriculum updates, and state compliances. My representation at those meetings as a member of our board reinforces our commitment to securing and maintaining consistency and making certain that we are aligned with the district's strategic framework. I have attended meetings nationally and statewide, along with several of our colleagues right here today. I think at least 4 of us have worked collaboratively across the state and the Southeast, as well as the Washington meeting. When it comes to policy, we have brought back information, and so far I've had a chance to collaborate with operations. I've sent information or spoken with Mr. Anderson. Academics, I know Dr. King is tired of me sending notes and messages to him about things that I've learned, but you know, that's a part of what this is about, sharing the information that we get. And I'm really excited about the work that we are doing in collaboration with Innovation and Technology. Dr. Powell has been extremely receptive of the information, and even though we think we're learning new things, we have experts right here on our campus and in our district. Many of the things he knows about already, and we are already doing. But it does help to, as Ms. Portis loves to say, go out, see what other people are doing. And when we do that, we realize that we are doing just fine. Again, many of us have been around and have learned new things, and we are bringing those things back to share with each other. Hopefully we will not only go and learn, but come home and implement these things in our committee work, as well as share them with district leadership. I'd also like to add that, and we briefly discussed this at a retreat, effective boardmanship also includes advocacy. And I'm encouraging advocacy at the local, state, and national levels. So I look forward to us making certain that we work to improve funding, equity, teacher retention, digital access, and student safety across the board, understanding that our policies do shape the learning environments that our students and our teachers are tasked to work with. And it's up to us to hold up the integrity as we govern for greater impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coleman. At this time, we will have Board Member Ms. Claudia Mitchell on Capital Outlay Committee report.
Okay, thank you. Today I have approximately 10 pages before me with information on all of the things that we have done. But because Mr. Anderson in operations and Volkert gives us a very detailed monthly report of facilities, grounds, and operations, I will definitely give you the Cliff Notes version. This is just a trip down memory lane to think about 5 years ago. There was a study done called the DeLong study, and they found out that we had over $500 million in deferred maintenance excess in MPS. And since that time, we have come a very long way as we sit and look around in this room of the things that we have accomplished in those 5 years. Uh, we have made tremendous progress. And I'm just going to share with you some of the major capital projects and some of our additional improvements quite quickly here. Some of our major capital projects includes the new Booker T. Washington Magnet High School, the renovation of this facility that we're sitting in today. We have also renovated our logistics warehouse, the Children's Center, and the construction of the new ninth grade academy at Carver High School. And we also have had athletic improvements at all of our high school facilities. Now, some of the additional improvements that we've done, we've had roof replacements in 31 schools. We had HVAC upgrades in 8 schools, and we have replaced over 300 units in our schools. Parking lot pavements in about 20 different schools, LED lighting upgrades in 10 schools, playground renovations were completed at 11 schools, library renovations at 4 schools, and we have 4 more that are currently in the design process. So you can see that we have truly come a long way. And as you look around the city, you can notice on your own that there has been significant landscaping improvements. Our schools truly look a lot better than they did. The maintenance on the grass and everything, it just really looks great. And in operations, in spring of 2024, a comprehensive rezoning study was completed, and this study focused on improving the vertical alignment within the school feeder patterns and also optimizing the building capacity. Now, in its findings will support our future decisions so that we will be impacting transportation, curriculum, and our capital investments. Now, there are planned renovations at our transportation department, which will include infrastructure for 2 electric or EV charging stations, and they will have capacity to add 2 additional stations in the future. We also now are excited to have an in-house printing divisions. And that's just a few of the accomplishments that we've made over the past few years. Madam President.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, for all of your hard work and due diligence. And there will be more to share as we continue to do this committee work. So thank you so much. The next agenda item is coming from me. This is on the General Counsel Contract Annual Review. Okay, give me just a second, you guys. Yeah, we're very proud. All right, I just got to find my notes here. All right, my apologies. The attorney contract is, I did want to clarify some things. The attorney contract is not set to expire until June 2027, and that was based off of the email that you all received. So we would not need to negotiate it at this time. The negotiation for a new contract would take place in June 2027. While I fully support and welcome performance evaluations as a part of professional growth, I believe that conducting a formal evaluation of her role at this stage would not provide a fully equitable and accurate measure of her performance. I respect and suggest that a traditional evaluation At this time also wouldn't capture the full scope of the context of what has been accomplished while she's been here. And by her, I'm referencing Attorney Powell. Since beginning her role as general counsel, she has had to build the legal department from scratch with no existing structure. She's had to find adequate office space. She's been limited in resources upon her arrival. And she's had to also build and is continuing to build a support staff while simultaneously managing crisis level responsibilities. So despite those limitations, she has met and exceeded expectations, as we all are aware. She stood in the gap for a lot of things, and she was a one-woman show. Therefore, I'm requesting consideration for a salary adjustment based on performance and equity that better reflect both market value of the position and the performance delivered under exceptional and circumstances. And that is my report. The next course of action will be I will have to get with I'll have to get legal counsel, a different legal firm to work with me as we negotiate this contract so that we can make sure that we are in compliance and following what we have in the contract that does exist, and to look at those adjustments. But it will not just be me, it will be all of us. So I'll definitely keep you all updated, and there will be scheduled meetings individually to go over the contract, especially if you have questions and concerns as we begin looking at just the salary adjustment. Are there any questions? All right.
I'm not,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if I'll come up with a question, but I was concerned about us stating no evaluation, even though there will be no formal evaluation. Would it not be acceptable to submit anecdotal remarks regarding the experiences and the work that has been done? You named some of the things that would go in such an evaluation, or not an assessment, but the anecdotal records would show that we were not just sitting and allowing a person to work without any kind of assessment.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, because my next sentence that I did leave off is if the board so chooses, a formal evaluation or review can be conducted once we have that opportunity to sit down. So I recruit you to work with me so we can get that done, if you're okay with it. You've done this before.
Due to the sensitivity of some of her work, we have to be careful because, some of that's good name and character, and also some very sensitive issues she takes care of, but, that we can't completely report out on all of that.
Right. We
Thank you.
understand.
Well, I think too that she deserves a raise for dealing with board members like myself.
All
Because
of us,
I'm
Lisa.
not kidding. The fact that she has dealt with me since the day she got here, and the way she's dealt with me has been meticulous, and I'm so proud of her.
They
I want
don't
to kill her.
print enough money in the U.S. Mint to pay.
I just have one.
We have Ms. Porter. She has a comment.
My only comment is I just want us to make sure we're doing the same thing across the board. However, if we evaluate before we provide any raises, then we need to do that across the board to make sure we're in, compliance and doing it right.
Yes, ma'am. That is duly noted. All right. Any other questions and concerns? Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned. Our next board meeting will be in July.